Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be working on Kioptrix Level 1, and as you see on the right hand side I have some notes that are going to use to assist me and kind of ask myself some questions while I'm running through this box. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is make sure that Kioptrix is running on the same network as your Kali Linux, and after that we want to know what network it is that we're in. In order to do that, we're going to do an ifconfig. We're going to see here that my interface Ethernet 2 has this IP address and this net mask. So we're going to need this information and we're going to have to put it into NetDiscover. So let's add it to my notes. I'm going to clear this up. I'm just going to type the command out first and then I'm going to speak about it a little bit. So -I will be for the device, which is Ethernet 2, and -R for the range. So for the range, we're going to use the first 3 octets of this IP. We're going to put .0 and CIDR notation of 24. So right now, NetDiscover is sending out all these ARP requests just to find Kioptrix or anything else that's running on the network. So if we did netdiscover-h, you'll get a little bit more information. You could see why I used the -I. You could see why I'm using the -R. You could set the range to be larger, but in this case I'm trying to minimize it so that it could find Kioptrix slightly faster. And then once we get the IP for Kioptrix, we're going to be moving on to Nmap, which is still part of our scanning phase, and hopefully we'll find something. So while we're waiting on this, let's clear this up and talk about Nmap. So why are we running it? It's to identify devices on that IP, right? So we want to know if it's running FTP server, a web server, maybe SMB. We're looking for open ports, and we want to leverage that to use our exploits. So perfect. We see here, let me stop this with Control-C. We see here that our Kioptrix IP is 192.168.225.133. So let's throw that into our notes. So we used NetDiscover, and this is the IP we got. I'm going to clear this out, and we'll use the Nmap scan. So for the Nmap scan, I'm going to use the -T4 for speed, -P- for all ports, the SV for scanning versions, -O to enable OS, and -ON so we can save our output to a file, which I will name nmap.kiop1. And the last part is making sure that we use the IP that we just found on our NetDiscover. And this is going to take not much time because it's on the host, so we're just waiting for Nmap to give us some good information that we could use to move to the enumeration part. Alright, so it's almost done and it just finished, and we get some good information. So let's copy this and paste it into our notes. So once I get the scan back, I ask myself, what services should I be looking at, and what is it that I'd like to know about the services? So we do see port 22, and it's running SSH, and the version that we have for it, which is OpenSSH 2.9 P2. Usually in these type of boxes, it's very rarely the SSH, and since I've done this one before, I'm gonna skip that over. The second thing we see is port 80. It's running Apache 1.3.20, and this is running off of a Red Hat Linux machine, and we got the version for mod underscore SSL 2.8.4. So this is really good information because we're getting the version of the software that they're using. We got RPC bind on port 111, and then on 139 we see SMB. We have Samba, but no version. So on my notes, I'm going to put the main ones I'm looking at, which is port 80 and 443, which is just HTTPS, and they have the same information. So let's copy that. And the next thing I want to copy is port 139, and we know it's running SMB. So we'll copy this information and we'll paste it there. So the issue I'm running into right now is that I don't have the version information for SMB. Luckily there's a tool I can use on Metasploit that will be able to find this. So let's clear this up. Let's run MSF console to bring up our Metasploit. And once it's up, we're going to be searching for SMB version, which will, well, it should tell us what the version of SMB is. So in order to do that, we'll do search SMB underscore version. We see here that it's actually the first one to pop up. So we're going to use our first option, which is 0. Let's clear it up. And we want to see the options that it gives us. Here we see our host is required, and that's really all we have to put in. So let's do that. We're going to have to put in the IP of the Kioptrix machine. In order to do that, we're going to do set our host and the IP of the machine. And we could do show options, and now we see that the IP is set. Perfect. All we have to do is run it, type run, and right here we see it's running Samba 2.2.1a. So let's copy that. We're going to need that. And in my notes, I'm going to say using SMB version, we find out that this is the answer. Perfect. So we did our scanning, and now we need to do our enumeration. So it seems that we basically already did our enumeration. Let me move this over here. We did our scan. We know what versions are running, and we need to move into exploitation. So why am I looking for an exploit? It's in order to get into the machine, whether it be low privilege or just getting in there as admin, which would be great. And well, where do we find it? So we're going to be using Google, and usually exploitdb pops up, and we're also going to use searchsploit. So let me exit out of this, clear this out, and let's use Google. So the first thing we're looking for is Apache HTTPD 1.3.20. We want to find out if there's already an exploit for it. We search Google. We see that there may be an exploit for it. And we want to look at the version. So here we have 1.3.20, right here 1.3.20, perfect. So we're going to take this link, we're going to add it to our notes, and let's see, I'll put Apache, found this link, and well, let's also use searchsploit now for that same version. So we're going to type in search exploit. Oh, I did not have the correct thing. We're going to copy this and we're going to paste it in. Let's see what it gives us. Nice. So sometimes when using a search exploit, if you're too specific, it won't find what we're looking for. So let's take this out of the way. And perfect. We see that we have some txt file, and we also have this exploit. And if we look, we're going to see that it's actually the same one we found on exploit DB. So if I want to copy this exploit to my current directory so I can use it, you can type cp. You want to grab the path. You want to grab where the exploit is located, paste it in, and make sure to put a dot for this current directory. As we can see, it's now in our directory, and we can keep moving along. So what else? We want to look for mod underscore SSL 2.8.4. Let's remove this slash, and let's see if search exploit gives us anything. So no results found. Let's take away this underscore. Nothing. Let's take away this 4. Something. All right. So we see we have open luck version 2. We can try that out. We're just gonna have to compile it since it's on C. So let's copy it just in case. And save it to our current directory. Actually, let's clean up our notes a little bit so it makes more sense. So we got here, and let's move this here. So we did this command. We might use it later. So it seems I ran into an issue with one of the exploits, and it's because Kioptrix Level 1 is so old that it just doesn't work right anymore. So when we go to this website, it has the updated version of what we would have originally used in the past, so that it works. That being said, let's move on to SMB and find out if we could find something for Samba 2.2.1a. So let's quickly make a note. And let's start using search exploit. We'll type in, well, we'll just paste it right in. Nothing found. Let's take away 1a. And we get a bunch of stuff here. So what we're looking for is, does it fit inside this 2.2.1a? We see that this bottom one here, it could definitely do it. 2.2.x. So number 7 seems like it could do it also. So let's copy both of those into our directory. The dot to indicate save it here. And let's do it again for number 10. And good notes. Let's keep track of what I'm doing. So now we have some potential exploits that can work against our targets. Actually, you know what? forgot to go to Google. Let's go to Google. And let's look for an exploit. Samba 2.2.1a. So we see here we have Rapid7, we have another exploit DB. I wonder if it shows us in the URL on the bottom. So let's go to the second link and you'll see that it'll say number 10 here. We'll have 10 here. It's actually going to be the same. And actually we'll probably be using the 10.c in order to do the attack on SMB. Let's go back. We did see one from Rapid7, and Rapid7 does make Metasploit, and they have Samba trans to open overflow. So let's copy this. We'll put that into our notes. The reason I'm not saving the URL is that this should be showing up on our Metasploit once we start it up. And when we scroll down, we'll see this is how we'll use it. Let's put that into our notes too. And well, it looks like we can start giving some of these exploits a chance now. So let's start with the first exploit, and that's going to be 19975. So let's check out what's inside of it. We see that it's written in Perl, Apache Server 1.3.x, so it might work. Kind of looking through the code real quick. So the documentation on this isn't as good as some of the other ones. We can save it, but it doesn't really seem like I would start with this one just yet. So we'll put this on the back burner, and let's move on to the next one. So that's going to be our 764.c, which is actually now located here at this link. So let's go and see what they've done. And well, the instructions here are pretty clean. Download OpenLuck, clone it, install this library, compile it, exploit. All right, so let's start with cloning it with git. We'll pass this over here, clear out my terminal, and we have downloaded it. We'll change directories into it. Let's see what we have. It has a README. Here it says we need to install this library in order for it to work. Let's do that. I've already installed it, and in order to compile it, we need to use this. So we're going to compile it with GCC. The output, for the sake of the children, we're going to change it to OpenLuck, and let's see what we have. So now we have this executable file, OpenLuck. Let's try running it. So we're given all these options. Let's see what else it gives us. So target, box, port. All right. This is everything it supports. And we know we're using Red Hat. Let's bring up our notes again. Using Red Hat. So let's come over here. And let's keep looking. So compared to the other program, at least this one has some documentation, and it seems like a interesting interface to choose what you're attacking. And let's see. Here we go. This looks like a good one. 0x6b. Throw that into my notes. Let's bring up the website again. So here they show you an example, run it, choose what you're attacking, where it's at, and -C40, I guess it's the default. All right, perfect. Let's go back to our notes. So we're gonna put 0x6b. We're gonna grab the IP of the machine. And then the -C40. So right now it's running through the script, and let's see what happens. So it established a connection. It sent a shellcode, spawned a shell, and let's see what else is going on. It's grabbing something from Packet Storm. All right. And we're root. Well, that was extremely easy. Again, this is an older machine, and usually it's much harder, but that's one way of getting into the machine. We still have the SMB to use. So let's Control-C to exit out of that. We have one exploit that works, and we're going to move on to SMB now. So let's do it manually first. We need to go back a directory. And we have this 7.pl and 10.c. To save some time, I'm going to use the second one. You're more than happy to use the first one. And we need to compile it. So GCC. Our output name will be useme.c. And we're grabbing it from 10. Perfect, we got useme.c. Let's see what it does if I just run it. It's going to give me some options. So we're going to need, so it's going to be platform is going to be 0. So let's make some notes here. -B will be 0. And the connect back IP address, that should be us. So -C, I can just scroll up on my notes. And here I am. It says here -C max childs for scan brute force default is 40. All right. We will do that. And it seems at the end we need to put the IP of the Kioptrix machine that we're attacking. So we'll copy this. We'll run the useme, put in the flags. Doesn't work. It seems that I forgot to put the default value that the page actually tells us here. So let's try that again. And it looks like we're in. So that's another way of getting root this time through SMB, using one of the exploits that we found. And let's exit out of that. And now let's try out Metasploit, because we still have the trans2 open overflow that we found, along with the instructions on how to use it. Before we do that, let's actually search for it, trans2 open. And we see 4 options. And let's see what it says over here. So here it says Samba /trans to open. Let's just use number 1. Let's clear this. Show options. And here it says show targets, set target. All right. Show options. We want to set our host. Let's copy the IP. Of our Kioptrix machine. We'll set that. Let's go to the bottom of our notes and show options. Looks like we have everything required of us. Let's run it. Trying return address. Oh, it keeps dying. All right, so let's stop that. After a little bit of investigation, it seems that there's some other options that pop up once you do this. The payload options. So let's see what we need to change. I think it was changing the payload. Let's set payload to Linux 86. And we want a shell reverse TCP. And let's show our options again. And let's give it a try this time. And it looks like we have a shell. Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we found a few ways on how to get into this box. And hopefully I keep getting better on doing these videos.